Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Old Time Rock and Roll. I'm your host, David Tear, where I've been featuring my personal top 3,000 songs of the rock era from 1954 to 1999. Today I'm up to song number 2929, which is Lemon Tree by Peter, Paul, and Mary. In case you guys don't know, Peter, Paul, here's a copy of the singles cover, and here's the album it came off of. This was their first hit. This was released in 1962. I think they originally went to number 35. It was originally written, it was a Brazilian folk song, I think written in 1930. And I think someone in the 50s, I forget his name, changed the words, turned it into a folk song. And then Peter, Paul, and Mary had a hit with it. And they had a lot of folk hits. They were a very big folk music band in the 60s. I think they had a lot of really great songs. They're kind of part of the 60s actually, because uh, the kind of folk music became very popular in the 60s. It got turned into folk rock, and Peter, Paul, and Mary had some very big folk song hits. Lemon Tree was their first. They also had Blowing in the Wind, which I think most of you know was written by Bob Dylan, a really wonderful peace anthem. They sang a beautiful version of this song. Several other artists also recorded that song, but I think Peter, Paul, and Mary had the best version of it. Here's a picture of the trio, by the way. So they had several big songs, like I said. Some of the other ones of theirs were Puff the Magic Dragon, that was written by Peter Yarrow. A lot of people thought that was a drug song, even got in a lot of trouble because of it, but I don't think it was intentionally a drug song. Our country was pretty paranoid at that time. He had a funny comment about that, by the way. He said that if I wanted to write a drug song, I would have made it explicitly about drugs. I thought that was kind of funny. Uh, and they were proponents of legalizing marijuana. I mean, they did use it, and so have I. I've used it for most of my life. I don't think it's that bad a drug, actually. Mm, I don't use it on a regular basis anymore, but I think it's actually more benign than cigarettes or alcohol. So, um, but Peter, Paul, and Mary, like I said, I think they were a really great group, and their biggest hit was "Leaving on a Jet Plane," that was written by John Denver. His version was called "Babe, I Hate to Go." Not really one of my favorites of theirs. I don't know why that was their only number one. It's a good song, but I don't think it was their best. Um, but I have some personal stories I want to tell about Peter, Paul, and Mary. I saw them twice. I saw them perform live twice. First time I saw them was in 1987, and it wasn't even at a concert. It was a demonstration. I went to a political demonstration in 1987. Um, I was against apartheid, and it was against U.S. involvement in Central America. I was pretty politically active at that time. I really didn't like the Reagan administration. I didn't like what our government was doing at that time. So I was pretty politically active. I joined a few political groups when I was at the University of Chicago, and we went to a big demonstration. It was 100,000 people went to this thing, uh, and we gathered in this park called the Ellipse. This is a big elliptical shaped park. In case you don't know, an ellipse is a mathematical figure. It looks like an oval stretched out circle, which is the shape of the ellipse in DC. 100,000 of us filled the ellipse. And before we marched, Peter, Paul, and Mary sang about five or six songs to lead us off. And I think the first song they sang was Blowing in the Wind. They said that they sang that many, many times. I guess besides giving concerts, they were very politically active, and I think they led several demonstrations, mostly in D.C., I think. And so that was really a privilege getting to see them play before I marched. And I'm glad I went to this thing because I feel like I played a small role in bringing about the end of apartheid, which I think was a really terrible regime. I'm glad it's not there anymore. And we marched up to the Capitol. I'm sure you guys recognize this picture. This is the U.S. Capitol, the same place that the Trump supporters stormed at the end of his first run of presidency. I hope it's his last. horrible thing. But we went there. We didn't storm it. We just marched up to it, and Ed Asner. They had some famous people giving speeches when we got there. They had Ed Asner from the Mary Tyler Moore Show. He was the one who played Mary's boss, Lou Grant. I didn't even know that he was a political activist, but I got to hear him speak about his discontent about apartheid and U.S. involvement in Central America. So kudos to Ed Asner. Um, and that wasn't the only time I saw them. I saw them again in 1995. This was at the Concord Pavilion in the Bay Area, in the East Bay. There's a town called Concord, about maybe 15 miles north of Berkeley. Um, and yeah, it was a big concert. I was with a singles group, a hiking group that I was involved with at the time, and a few people from that group got tickets for a bunch of us to go see Peter, Paul, and Mary in concert. And, um, they were already in their 50s. And to me, they sounded exactly like they did in the 60s. I couldn't tell the difference. I couldn't tell the difference in the way they sang at this concert to how they sounded, when they started out. So it was really a privilege getting to see them. Even for about half the concerts, where some people were able to get front row seats, so I got to sit in the front row, and it was probably the best concert I've ever been to in my life. So I'm really glad I got to see this concert. Interesting. I don't think they played "Blowing Out of the Wind" at this one. I don't know why. You think they would have, since it was probably their biggest hit. Either that or Puff the Magic Dragon. I think they did play Puff the Magic Dragon. They also played Leaving on a Jet Plane. I don't remember what else they played, but it was a pleasure hearing them. And like I said, I do really like Peter, Paul, and Mary. And Lemon Tree was their first big hit. I do like the song. I didn't even say anything about the song, by the way. Maybe I should talk a little bit about the song. It's an old folk song. It was written I think in 1930. At least the melody was in Brazil, and I think in the 50s there was a folk musician who wrote the words. And it's a good song. It's about a young man who falls in love with a young girl, but he gets his heart broken because she leaves him for another man. And before that happened, his father gave him good advice. Taken some advice from the lemon tree. Lemon tree very pretty and the lemon flowers sweet, but the fruit of the poor lemon is impossible to eat. Good kind of metaphor for heartbreak and all that. Anyway, that's my profile on Lemon Tree by Peter, Paul, and Mary. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.